Many of you know, members know, CityView is a church that's kind of uniquely focused on church planting. One of the things we want to do this summer is to bring in some of those other church planters that we're working with and guys who are perspective and parts of our CityView collective. So I want to introduce you right now, Guy Glass. Guy, come on up. That's the coolest name in church planting right there, Guy Glass. Guy is planting a church in the Woodlands. It's called New City Church. They are kind of in their pre-launch stage. You said you kind of did a soft launch already.
Right.
And he's here with his wife and kids, and one is back in the back with our awesome children's ministry. But Guy, why don't start off here? Tell us a little bit about yourself, your family, who you are. Give us a little bio.
Yeah, it's good to meet you, CityView. My wife, Becca, is here, and my two older sons, Isaiah and Elijah. And we've got Jude in the back who's causing trouble, I'm sure. But yeah, my dad likes to say that my wife and I met in the wrong place at the right time because we met in a bar in 1999. I know you're thinking, this guy's probably like 25, but no, we met in 1999.
Wow.
And,
that's when I graduated from high school.
Yeah, so we were both saved at an early age 9 and age 9 for her. But we weren't walking with God at the time. And so, but she was already at a place of turning, a place of repentance. And so we met, and I went over to meet her parents and had dinner. We went for a walk afterward, and she said, look, I got to ask you a question. Are you a Christian? Because we're not dating if you're not, because I'm in the process of turning back to God. And so God used our relationship to bring both of us back to himself. And we were married 051102. I punched that. That was my passcode.
051102.
10 years at Walmart. That's how I remembered my wedding anniversary, 051102, to get onto the computer.
Is that your PIN for your ATM?
No. But even if it were,
Social security number is also part of this
it's
interview.
Not gonna
you have to give us
good.
that. Credit card numbers.
Right. Yeah. So you're not going to get much. I'm a church planner.
Truth. Understand.
And so, yeah, so we got married, and we had some kids, and we got one future church planter on the front row here and a future surgeon. So he'll be funding the church
that's
planter.
The way it's got to work. Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah, that's a little bit about my family.
Yeah. I met Guy, he's part of the Houston Church Planters Network. He is in there just finishing residency.
They're about to kick me out.
And Nate, our resident, he will be moving here Tuesday this week. So if you want to help move him in, he's moving into Shadow Creek, happening Tuesday this week. Nate's he's going into that finishing residency, beginning in, I think it kicks off in September.
He's blessed. It's been life-changing.
Cool. Guy, tell us about the church you're planting, where you're planting, why you're planting there.
Okay, so I'm sure that you guys are familiar with this sort of picture because you guys are a church plant that's also planting churches, and you've got a guy like Jason for a pastor. But, you know, Houston is the most diverse city in the nation. 350 people groups, 220 languages spoken. 1 in 4 people in the greater Houston region weren't even born in the United States. So Houston's become a foreign mission field. You don't have to buy the pricey plane ticket to do cross-cultural missions. And so the area we live in up in the Woodlands looks like that as well. And so there's all sorts of brokenness in our city. I drove past one of the largest abortion clinics in the world on my way here to Pearland this morning. My wife just yesterday was saying, man, you know, as a parent of small children, she's like, 3 girls came up missing at the Woodlands Mall because Houston's a hub for human trafficking because of where it's at. So that's why we're planning a church, because there's all sorts of lostness, all sorts of brokenness, and the only answer for our city is the gospel of Jesus Christ. He's the only answer. Yeah. And so we've got, you know, dozens of denominational studies have shown that church plants increase their numbers 60 to 80% from the ranks of people who are new believers, unchurched folks. Whereas a church of the same size that's 10 to 15 years old, 80 to 90% of the people that are coming into their membership is transfer from other congregations. Right. So if you want to actually fulfill the Great Commission, you want to see our city become a God's city, you plant churches. And so that's the burden that God's placed on our hearts.
Awesome. My last question, maybe you'll have a little bit after this, but so you wanted to join our collective, it was called the CityView Collective, now we're calling it the Houston Collective, Houston Metro Collective. Tell us why you want to be a part of that collective.
Okay, so you take the 4 distinctives of the the collective. It sounds like it's the same values of the church here.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're loving people far from God, if I remember correctly, right? You're living in authentic relationships, and you're leading a gospel-centered life and planting churches. And so you take the core values of New City Church, you put that up, and it's the same thing. Our core values is gospel, mission, together. And so the same blood is pumping through our veins. You know, we want to live lives that are shaped and transformed by the gospel. We want to carry out the mission of Jesus in this world, and that's to see people come to know him in a saving way. And we want to live life together. So we're looking at Acts chapter 2, 42 through 47, where you see Christians gathering in larger numbers on Sundays like this, gathering house to house as well, devoted to the apostles' teaching, breaking of bread, fellowship, prayer. And we're saying we don't want that just to be descriptive of what the early church was doing. We want that to be prescriptive for what we're doing. And so I met Jason. There were two big moments in the HCPN residency for me. The first was meeting a guy named Steve Besner, who's famous for being Matt Chandler's roommate. So like, he's always sort of lived in the shadow of a really gifted guy, and he's pastoring a church in Houston. He said, hey, if I was in your chair, the way that, or what I would be doing is I'd grow a church to 400, meanwhile raising up a planter and a team to send them out and plant another church. So we would never be a mega church. That would just never happen, because we're just continually multiplying congregations. The second big moment was we spent a day with Jason, and I read a book. He gave us a book called Proliferate. Some dude wrote it. I don't know. He's not very well known. In the book, he describes himself. If there was Peter and his brother Andrew, Peter's the well-known guy. He's definitely an Andrew, a guy that nobody knows except you guys. You guys know him and love him. But he said, man, in the book, he said, small churches can plant churches more effectively than large churches. Large churches are going to try to make a big production, whereas smaller churches are about relationships and making disciples and loving, knowing, and serving their friends and their neighbors and their family. And so I actually read the book with one of my sons. We sort of took turns reading it out loud. And it just radically changed what was going on in my heart, where something seemed sort of hopeless and impossible to do. It became possible. And God used that to fill me with a fervency. So that's why I want to be in the gang. Like, I want to be in the club, the collective.
Welcome to the gang. Yeah, man. That's humbling. Yeah, he told me his son read the book, and I was like, really? One person? Excellent. That's phenomenal.
He's the first. There's more to come.
Sure. Well, Guy, thank you.